We, on a motion, this House believes that feminist movement should oppose sex change operation. I would like to call upon the Prime Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that the sole cause of the feminist movement has always been embracing identity of women as a whole. To always be happy with the choices you make as a woman. We're okay with the liberation to make other choices or other rights that you want to practice, but not a sex change, because it contravenes the principle of the feminist movement as a whole. How do we characterize the debate today? So we're okay with we believe that people who changes their sexes are for recreational purposes. And those people who are intrinsic, like we're okay with those people who are intrinsically and felt biologically that they are a guy or a guy, that we're okay with them to change their sex. But we're not okay with the recreational purposes of changing a sex. Because people who always go through sex change operation are people who went through like sex abuses and assaulted, and they felt disempowered by being women themselves. So we won't, because people won't simply change their sex just by the virtue of them being that particular gender, right? These people are desperate people who have felt that they are being oppressed as a woman. So we believe that we should empower these people as opposed to letting them change their sex, right? So women has always felt that they have been wrongly done. So the feminist movement, we believe, has the obligation to educate and show the public and also the women that being women is okay, that being women is actually an act of empowerment, that you are being empowered even though that you are a woman, that a lot of your rights are being championed, right? Irrespective of your gender or irrespective of your culture or cultural background. So you need to be comfortable with the body and your identity, right? Because people usually go through sex change are manufactured because of various reasons. But let's just characterize what is the feminist movement. I believe the feminist movement always fights for the rights when it comes to women who is oppressed to its core, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that through being a woman and also being involved in the feminist movement, you can gain a lot of rights, But why does the right to a sex change need to be opposed? Because we believe that the value of being a woman, you're basing the value of being a woman is not enough. Because we believe that how is it like it is depicted as being in a particular gender is oppressive. We believe that the feminist movement should educate and tell the people that being women is good, that you are not being oppressed as a woman, that you are not a gender of the lowest common denominator, right? So that's that. I have two substantives that I will lay out to you in today's debate. Firstly, how it will contravene with the cause of the feminist movement on championing your gender. We believe the feminist movement has intrinsically embraced the idea of a woman, an identity of a person. Like, for instance, they champion a lot of rights, for instance, the Equal Pay Act, and also abortion and such things. By you being a woman and you wanting to do other rights and exercise those rights, But we're not okay with the sex change because it contravenes with the cause of feminist movement that them being said that it's okay being a woman is good, that being women is okay. So the fight of feminist movement has always been aiding women on empowering them. But a sex change, on the other hand, is letting the people know that you're not okay with the gender the body that you're being in, that it's okay for you to change because you feel disempowered by being that particular gender. We think this is extremely important because we believe that the feminist movement has always been empowering the women all through the cause of their action. Right? So we believe that the fight of feminist movement has always been aiding this woman and those who are oppressed. We believe that sex change contravenes this very basic principles. So secondly, we believe that then it will decrease the legitimacy of the feminist movement as a whole. Because firstly, we believe that because the feminist movement have always been empowering women generally, it crushed against the argument on how being a woman is good. How being a woman is entirely, you're being empowered and all your rights are being championed. By letting people seeing that you're okay with the sex change, it depicts that you're okay with people being against the feminist movement or being dislike of being in a body that you're in. It opposes the basic principle of basic principle of the feminist movement. Because we believe the feminist movement have always been accepting of your, advocating how accepting your identity and those identities are good. Then it will then decrease the legitimacy of feminist movement. But before I extend more, any POIs?
No. Well, the idea of feminism is not to accept your identity, but have a right to change your identity, so that nobody can say that you are not allowed to change yourself if you want.
We believe that the feminist movement have always been championing a lot of rights already for the women. For instance, like abortion, or even any other rights. For if you wanna how you symbolize yourself, how you wanna the kind of things that you wanna do. But we're not okay with this sex change particularly. Why? Because it is a transition from a gender to another gender. So we believe that it contravenes the basic principle, because you're not okay, you're not comfortable with the body that you're in, and the feminist movement have always been trying to advocate that people should be comfortable with the body that they're in. What the feminist movement should do is try to educate the women and also the society as a whole that you need to treat people better, that you need to treat people as a person, as opposed, because a lot of people have gone through these sexual changes, are people who are being assaulted, are people who are being sex abused when they were little, and they felt disempowered through their past memories. That is why they felt that there's a dire need for them to change their identity. These are the basic things that the feminist movement should educate the people and should tell the people that we will help you to elevate your lifestyle better, but not by going through a sex change, because it contravenes the basic principles and it goes against all the arguments that the feminist movement wanted to fight for in the first place. Because the feminist movement have always been trying to give more rights to these women, a lot of more rights to make the women feel empowered. Ladies and gentlemen, our burden is to tell you here that the feminist movement have the obligation to protect the lowest common denominator. And through this sex change, you are telling these people of the lowest common denominator it's bad to be a woman. We believe so.
House thanks the Prime Minister, and now welcome Leader Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we, the opposition, would like to challenge the government of their proposal in the movement of feminism to oppose sex change operations. Now, I would like to go into the definition of what the government has proclaimed so far. That they just stated that this whole thing is all about female and not about the other gender, because it's not just about female changing into male, but also about male changing into female, and that's one of the vital things that they neglected to contribute into the definition of the whole. And further on, they also neglected the biological nature of the very important reason why sex change happened in the first place, because there are people who was born differently from the others, and even though they were born naturally as male, but somehow they develop a female characters, and they just totally are the other gender. Let me give you an example of what happened. Take the case of Brandon, the woman in America who was raped and killed around 10 years ago, I believe. She was a female, but her whole nature was totally male. Like, she loved another woman, and because she carried a body of female, that's why she could. That was the reason why she was raped, and that was the reason why she was killed. And we believe that people like her and people who are entitled to sex change, like it is no longer a thing that should be neglected. It is now a human right. Like, people have the human right to carry out their wishes to change if they want to and if they have to, because we believe that feminism is for equality and human and human rights is what we are fighting for. And because of this, we would like to give the right for the people to do operation. We would like to give the right for the people to do what they wish, to achieve better chances in life, to be themselves, because they might be biologically different, but they can change that, because technology nowadays, hospital nowadays, doctors nowadays can help them to do so. Because that's what we believe in, and that's what I believe that the feminist movement also encountered through. What the government has stated so far merely was the protectionism of what is considered to be the conservative thinking of why they should just protect themselves and forget what they actually can become. Now, what about the right for gays or men who want to do sex change also? I mean, like, not only women want to do so. I mean, like, as you can see, in Thailand, like, there are so many men who change their sexes, and it is very common. What about them? What about their rights? I mean, I believe feminism is all for equality, and female should not be the only gender to be considered to account here. We have to also believe in the rights of human, like the rights of both genders in this case. And that's what the government has totally avoided to discuss. So, to take into account of what we have said so far, we believe in freedom to do operations. We believe in equality, and we believe that everyone should have the right to become what they want to become. Everyone should have the right to believe in themselves and to build themselves a future without being judged because of their gender or further on. And we should continue to promote this freedom. And we should not just let any certain group to oppose to this for the better future of our society. Thank you.
How sense the leader of outcomes, the beauty prime minister?
Focus correct.
Just checking.
We have a very cruel team who doesn't give us any substantive for us to rebut, but it's okay. We're gonna take a little of their substantive. I'm gonna rebut you and tell you why it is still better under our program. So let's go to the technicalities. I'm here to talk to you about how this is the obligation of our feminist movement to educate these women and to tell them why they have to champion their identity. And she also told you about how this is a manufactured consent because now these women are forced into the circumstances by outside pressure, and they consider to the fact when they give the example on how these women are raped, these women live in the circumstances where they champion men, and that's the reason why they want to have a sex change. And Mahira already told you about why it is particularly important that we oppose this thing because these women are forced into the choice, and we do not think that women are deserving of that. So let's talk about my first rebuttal. They talk about how these are the choices and these are choices that of women and that we should then already accept it. But then he contradicted himself when he gave us an example. He gave us an example on how women are opting into that choice because of external factors like being raped or living in a circumstance where they champion men. These are the kind of women that doesn't know the limitation of their right. These are the kind of women that doesn't know that by the virtue of you being a woman, you deserve of the respect of the society. So when you are manufactured into that choice, we don't think that you are actually making an active choice of wanting a sex change operation. So we don't agree with that kind of choice. They also talk about male who wants to change into women and why it is better under their paradigm. But we say this is failed. This is especially particularly harmful to the women's plight. Why? Because now the feminist movement have been preaching for years on how it is bad and how women have always been oppressed. But now when you allow the sex change operation, you're basically from being male to being female. You're basically telling the people that being female is the best thing ever. That these female are not undergoing any sort of oppression because they are allowing a lot of male to change into female. You are basically degrading what the argument of feminist movement that women are being oppressed when you allow a lot of males to go and have their sex change into female, because it becomes a fake celebration of being women, which is harmful because we want to magnify the fact that women have always been oppressed for years, and that's the reason why it is particularly important for us to lobby for them. So I'm gonna talk to you about my argument on my argument of how even if they already themselves give the choice to enter into a sex change operation, it is still gonna be harmful because certain people opt into sex change readily based on their own choices. We have to consider the fact because they think that it is more beneficial for them. But why is it still particularly harmful? Firstly, they degrade the narrative and plight of other women. And how does that happen? Firstly, because the reason why the feminist movement have been successful and gaining a platform in all these years is because they are able to prove that the women deserve more affirmative action due to certain gender limitations. Because these are certain limitations that you are born with and it is unchangeable. So when people change their sex readily, it degrades the argument that the feminist movement has presented. Sit down. That you can always opt out of your gender problem just by virtue of you having a sex change operation. So we think this is harmful because not everyone wants to have a sex change operation, but now they're going to be pushed into having a sex change operation just so that they can get out of their gender problem. So what are the harms here? Firstly, it degrades the necessity of addressing the women problem. Why? Because now the alternative becomes that if you have a lot of women problem, then you can just have a sex change and opt out from that problem. So you don't have any necessity of addressing the problem anymore. Because now it becomes so easy for you to just opt out from your gender problem just by having sex change operation. Secondly, it hurts the lobbying power of the feminist movement. Because the argument that the feminist movement presented is that because you are born as a woman, you inherit all this problem, and that's the reason why we need all this affirmative action because we cannot get out of it. But when you support the sex change operation, you're basically telling the people that there is an alternative and we support this alternative of going out of your gender limitation. So we think this is harmful because now people wouldn't take it seriously, wouldn't take the cause of feminist movement seriously, and people are gonna take all the gender problem as a ridicule because now they can easily opt out from it. Thirdly, and the most important one, sit down ma'am, because it demotivates other women from opting into the cause of the feminist movement. And why? Because now we have a lot of moderate females who doesn't know whether or not they want to join the feminist movement. Because it has always been hard to be a feminist. Firstly, you are shunned by the society. Secondly, you are things of ridicule by men. And thirdly, you are oppressed by the society. Especially if you live in places like Middle East and India, being a woman is the worst thing that you can think of. But when you allow them to easily change their sex, to opt out from this gender limitation, so there is no necessity for us to lobby for the women in India. There is no necessity for us to save the women and tell the men in that society that these are, by the virtue of them being as a woman, they are deserving of respect. Because now they can easily opt out into that problem. And we say that we want these people to be to champion the cause of feminist movement because that is how we can see changes if these women support the feminist movement. But now these women will not opt into feminist movement. In fact, they will opt out of their own sex because that's the easier way out. Because now they can annihilate the problem of sexual assault or rape just by the virtue of them having sex change operation and being banned. And we think that the problem of women wouldn't be addressed before that.
Well, it's not a common practice that women are changing their sex in order to avoid some kind of women-called pressures, and especially in countries you are speaking of because they cannot afford this to themselves.
The sex change operation have not been championed in her world because the feminist movement and people have not accepted it within their society. But once the feminist movement give out their support, then the women are gonna be like, it's okay for me to change my sex so that I can opt out from my gender limitation, and that's where all the negative effects that I've presented to you will accrue. So we already talked to you about why it is a bad choice and why the feminist movement shouldn't champion it, even firstly because mostly it is a manufactured consent, and secondly I already told you on why even if they readily opt into this choice, it is still harmful for other women because you degrade all the plights and the problems of the other women. And we have already established to you that it is harmful even if you're a male who wants to change into a female, because it degrades all the plights and the argument that the feminist movement have presented. So by the virtue of that, by the virtue that we think that just because you are a woman, you have to be respected, we take this debate.
How sex appeal Prime Minister and welcomes the leader opposition.
Mr. Chair, this debate has far gone to a wrong direction from what is our perspective. We believe that the government side is trying to lobby on the fact that the females who are oppressed are only the ones who opt for gender change, which we the opposition believe that it's literally wrong, because there are people who are biologically born this way. That's why, like, we are born this way. That's why they opt for these operations and sex change. That's what I've been defined by my Prime Minister's speech, and I guess that was more than enough for the opposition. And the government side has been bringing things up, such as, like, if you that these feminism rights are only because you need to challenge this thing, challenge that thing. We believe that, sit down please, that if male change to female, they are already opting to become a female. That should be good for the feminism side, because it shows that that there are people who believe that women are receiving enough rights. That's why they are changing their gender. So therefore, it should have been good for them, but they're just saying that male changing sex would eventually threaten their paradigm by that the females will start opting out from the feminism movement. In my case, I would talk about 2 points: why we don't deprive people of their rights, and why feminism movements can still go on along with these sex change operations. And starting my debate with here. We don't, in our side of the paradigm, we don't deprive people from their rights of being able to choose what they want to do with their own body. Like, the body belongs to them. We believe that they should be given all rights they have, and they should be given all rights to do whatever they want with their own body, which the government side is clearly rejecting that. Sit down please. And clearly rejecting that part, and we are shocked because the government should be setting a good example of respecting basic human rights in this case. And
Sir,
yes,
we presented to you a lot of third-party harm if you allow some people to have sex change operations. So why is it still justified for you to allow it to happen?
Sorry, I didn't get that, but I'll take to you later. Sit down please. So right now, we believe that feminism doesn't open to the thing that both men and women can state. The feminism movement is in their paradigm, the feminism movement is being a closed cage in which men and women cannot even live together, cannot even stay together. Sit down please. Cannot even live together and do anything together. What have they been stating from beginning is that if you change the gender, I mean, it's because of sex or rape, and we believe that biological problem has been one of the main reasons that that people are changing sex, and that's why the President of United States even allowed sex change in the first place, and then clearly blundered the point that sex change is just a part of recreational activities, which we the opposition feel that it's is clearly wrong, and the government has clearly failed to even understand what does sex change means to people. And we believe that the protection of these principles of the LGBT is also clearly important in this case, because we believe that if feminism opt for opposing these sex change, this LGBT right movement would come up and would backlash these feminism movement, and there would be a war between LGBT right movement and the feminism movement, which we think should have gone right par on par with each other, because these LGBT right movement also fight for nearly the same rights as this feminism right movement. And feminism is not only about change, the female should be superior and all. That's wrong. Feminism was first, sit down please, feminism was first started long back to give females basic rights, and which we believe right now in this 21st century, female has been receiving basic human rights, and we believe that feminism movement is a good thing, but the definition brought up by the government of feminism is wrong. We believe that feminism is to fight for the good economic welfare for the females, equal rights, equal pay, and that sorts of stuff. But the government is bringing up that, sit down please, that the females should be, try to always challenge the male, to try to show their superiority in this paradigm, which we believe that it's clearly wrong. Yes.
Apart from the role of ladyboys in Thailand, could you please highlight one dignified identity of transgenders in Thailand, for example?
Sorry, could you please repeat?
Apart from the well-known roles of ladyboys from Sukhumvit in Thailand, for example, name one dignified social role that a transgender plays, for example, in Thailand.
Mr. Chair, that was a great question. In Thailand, for example, ladyboys are well respected, eventually, and given the same, nearly the same standard, or the same standards as women in Thailand. Ladyboys have been employed as flight attendants. They are employed as music companies. They are given the same respect as female. So we believe that in this case, their characterization of these changing gender is clearly wrong, because in Thailand, the LGBT right movement and the feminism are going par on par. They both fight for the same rights, and they both respect each other's rights, that they respect that these people have the right to change their gender. But in this case, you are going opposite of what is really the core values of the feminism, of giving basic rights to the females, in which we think so the government side has clearly not even elaborated, and we feel that we take the case. Thank you.
How sensitive the bill with the opposition and our argument will come?
Ladies and gentlemen, from this side of the house, first we will attempt some rebuttals, then we'll go to our extensions. We'll start with rebuttals, right? The opening opposition is clearly concerned with the rights of different transgenders about the availability of these processes. We don't necessarily think that's a problem, because understand that the legality or the existence of sex change operations is not part of the debate. It's more of whether the feminist movement should support it or oppose it. Moreover, the rights of the transgender are supposed to be dealt with by the LGBT movement, a different movement which exists specifically to advocate for their rights. We don't believe that the feminist movement needs to get into this business, or we believe that that is actually a problem for the feminist movement in this case. Moreover, they talk about these ladyboys having the same respect as women. We see that they're mostly employed in the prostitution business, right? And the prostitution business is not looked well upon in any place in the world, even in countries like America or Europe, where these places give great respect to a lot of people, right? So we see that there is a clear problem where these people are going to face. We talk about our extensions we're going to bring. We're going to first talk about the ways of feminism and why this is not the case. Then we're going to talk about the womanhood and why this is a problem. Moreover, we talk about the purity of the feminist movement and why it needs to stay intact, and that is going to be our extensions. So let's talk about womanhood, right? We believe that to become a woman, you have to be born as a woman. What that means is that you have to have certain biological properties to be born as a woman, and as you grow up, you face unique circumstances and problems. What that means is that you have unique abilities, skills, and responsibilities. For example, pregnancy. For example, the ability to think ahead in the future, or the better ability to plan things better. We have seen in businesses that women are better at team working and leading teams because they have the ability to see things, foresee things in a holistic manner, which men are incapable of doing to that degree, right? So we believe that what all this means is that it's a different identity. We believe that the identity formation process of a woman is largely different from anything else that exists, and we believe that the feminist movement has come about in its first wave, in its second wave, and its third wave, where it first talks about recognition, and then about giving them their rights, and then about including lesbians, by recognizing the identity as a woman to be able to do what they want to do. This is important because understand that it is the identity is crucial to the ability to exist as an individual in society, to be able to communicate with other people in society, to be an independent, contributing member of society. It is key to having a social conjoinment and a social existence and being there, right? Moreover, we believe decision change, identity for women, generally comes from having this lack of identity, where we see that the lack of identity is a problem because either the women are not being protected enough, or they're being discriminated against, or more importantly, their identity has not been allowed to foster and grow. We believe that this is exactly what the feminist movement was created to do. We believe that women should be free, independent, and we believe that this specific decision to change is not necessarily a part of it because it contradicts that the identity of a woman is pure and should remain as it does. We think that the dignity of the feminist movement is going to be hurt. Why? We think that, first of all, before I move on.
Yes, you mentioned something about lesbian, which is also considered into account the LGBT movement. So you say also that women should have the capacity to be pregnant, but lesbian women, if they ever have a relationship, they're not going to...
Ladies and gentlemen, lesbian women can get pregnant by going to sperm banks. That's not a problem here. Moreover, lesbians are women in the first place, and thus they're part of the feminist movement. Let's talk about the problems it has, right? First of all, it's not enhancing the fact that feminist movement should support the identity of a woman and why that should be the case. Moreover, we see that the transgender movement doesn't have a great record or a great recognition in society compared to women, right? So we believe that that hurts the feminist movement in terms of their purpose itself and their progress itself. It's principally not the same because the championing of a woman's rights is the fact that being a woman is superior to anything else in the world because you have that unique ability that nobody else can get, only you, because you were born as a woman, right? We tell you that this dignity, this purpose is very important to the feminist movement because it allows the feminist movement rise to the duty and do their jobs. Because the feminist movement is not a minority group or a leadership group that gives rights to anybody and everybody that's not getting their rights. We believe the feminist movement exists to give rights to women, and we believe that this is important because this purity means that the challenges facing women in the 21st century are massive. For example, the pay-wage gap of 77 cents to each dollar that the woman earns in the workplace, even though they have the same work, right? We see that people like Scarlett Johansson are getting paid less than Chris Hemsworth, right? Why is that the case? Even though they have equally important, or the woman has more important roles in the same movie of Avengers, right? We see that this is a clear problem that exists throughout, even in industries like the film industry, which has championed women to a large degree. Moreover, we tell you that all these problems need to be targeted by the feminist movement and alleviated. That is why they have come about, that's what they have been doing for so long, and that is what they have been doing really well. For example, in women's tennis, where we see the Australian Open offering equal prize money for women and men in their respective categories of game. We see that these movements have been come about and they have been doing their job well. We believe that it's important for them to keep doing their jobs. Because understand this, the nature of most or all societal structures is that they're patriarchal in nature, is that they support the man more than the woman. We believe that this enemy to patriarchy, this deep-rooted patriarchy, is feminism. And we believe that this movement exists to fight this process. And it does it with the best of its ability, and it has brought about great results to date. Because understand that the nature of patriarchy is over millions of years old. And over the last few hundred years, we see that the movement has been brought about great changes and great equality for choice of women. We believe that this is not yet a solution because there are still problems facing women in terms of so many things, in terms of sexual abuse cases, in all of these areas, right? We believe that the feminist movement still has a lot more work to do. And we believe that it is important for the feminist movement to keep doing its job because there's a lot more to do, A, and B, it has to do it properly. We believe that the LGBT movement is not going to be hurt by this process because they have their own movement, A, and B, it's not necessarily the case of this debate whether the feminist movement should help the LGBT movement or not. We tell you that this debate exists on the grounds that the feminist movement needs to retain its purpose, its existence. It is not just a group that comes about and advocates for the rights of any person that is being denied their rights in society. Different groups exist to do that. Thank you.
House has been gone. Welcome to go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, about answer to the government team. First government, second government. First proposition side. First, we would really believe that, for example, to change your sex to become a man, it does not mean that you betray the feminism or betray to be a woman. And, because in status quo there are many men which are feminists, which protect women's rights all over the world. Because there is no connection between your actions and that you show that, oh, okay, I hate girls, that's why I want to be a boy. No, it's not. It doesn't work the same. And the second government, our point of rebuttal. People usually change sex not because it's very difficult to be a woman, for example, or a man, not because of social relationships or laws or something like this. And that's why it's not betrayal when you change your sex. No. Because it's harder, usually it's harder to change sex to be under pressure as a woman, for example, and to have a lower salary or something like this. Because nowadays, even in Western countries, there is huge pressure of the society, and that's why it's very difficult step to change your sex, because you can lose your own previous life, all your friends, because you don't know how they will act, and that's why we believe that it's a very hard and very difficult decision. And about our position. Our position is what is feminist? But it's not the question. Why is the feminism? Why is the feminist movement is in this world? What we are fighting for? The main question. We are fighting for not for rights, but for realization of rights. But it's not the main idea. We are fighting for happiness of women. And so we believe that more happy women in the world, it's the best world. And we are talking about, I will explain what is the link between our case and this main idea of feminism. And about modern feminism. Yes, previously we gave some rights to women, but they have still so much problems, not because of bad laws, because of our moral, our society, and our relationship. Because Nowadays, women can be president, can be in a parliament, can vote, can decide everything, can be a businessman, but sometimes they don't do it because of moral pressure of the society, because society show you should be, for example, a housekeeper, you should have 3 children, and so on and so forth. And this thing that society, when the situation when society show you should do this something, you should be somebody. We think that it's the same situation when the society tell you should be woman when you are biological woman and you cannot do anything with it. It does not mean the society tell you, does not, or feminists in their case tell you, it does not mean what you feel inside. It doesn't mean happy you are unhappy. It means only that you should do like we want you to feel. Or it's, we truly believe if the main idea of feminism, no, thank you, to all women to be happy, this thing that only woman can decide what is happiness for her. Only a person can decide what is happiness for him. For example, then you see yourself in a mirror and you see that it's not your body, it's not your place in the society, and you see that you are unhappy in this body and you can want to change something in your life, and you see the pressure. This is the situation. As a feminist, we should protect you as a woman, and we should protect you as a future woman, for example, because we are fighting for your happiness. And if you will happy in your new body, we should protect you. And this thing that it's how it works in first government, just a little bit later. It's how it works in the same situation. Why we should protect your rights? Yeah.
Women usually weren't given justice, especially when it comes to sexual harassment in workplace, because of fear of being fired. Are you okay then with them wanting to change their identity to men to get out of their situation?
Sorry, I didn't really understand you, but I think my colleague will answer this question. So, about changing the sex. More than it, we believe then we create atmosphere of tolerance in the society to anybody, to any opinion, to any activity in the society. We do our society more tolerant, and that's if we have more tolerant society. In this society, nobody can tell you that you should be housekeeper or you should act like this. We think that more tolerant society is good even for other aspects of feminism, other aspects of tolerance, and other aspects of social relations. And that's why, because the ideas of feminism to give people happiness and to any people, to any person, firstly. And secondly, because we create tolerance, and tolerance is very important, especially for ideas of feminism. That's why I really do oppose.
Thousands then go up. Now welcome Scott Wood.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister comes forward and gives us the understanding that feminist movement endorses a lot of things, does not endorse a few, and sex change operation being one of them, which according to the Prime Minister is an optional operation that one can go through for recreational activity. So mind you, this is about the vanity of a few versus the fate of millions of others. So basically, this debate from the opening part of the government's bench has been a war about how this entire mechanism of sex change operation sort of nullifies the movement of feminism, and how this particular details of this operation needs to be condemned. However, from the lower part of the government bench, we tried to give you on a layer-to-layer basis as to how historically feminism has served the purpose for millions of women out there. Not only that, we wanted you to understand that the purity and the dignity of this particular movement needs to be intact. Why? Because for a movement to work properly, you need to give it the breathing space, and this breathing space only comes as long as it is dedicated to those who are biologically women and endorses the fight for the rights and equality on the conventional grounds that this by default patriarchal society has been oppressing till date. And we feel that that dignity is nullified because, number one, you are letting a movement not take place properly. For example, the LGBT movement, which needs an organic change just like the feminist movement over the years in order to establish themselves, number one. Number two, the present manifestation of transgenders in any society is not at all a dignified one. And in this particular perspective, when feminists alone also condemn the entire profession of prostitution, however, they label the term sex worker for women who were oppressed and forced into prostitution, we feel that it is conventional that transgenders till date have not done enough to qualify to come forward and say that yes, that they belong to be, they can belong to a particular gender and they can opt into that, number one. Number two, we feel that the thick line between sexuality and the decision of which and the division of gender are two different aspects. When we come to the entire argument of the lower part of the opposition, who feel that it is about happiness and desire, which is justified, and the happiness of women is involved, that is also fine. But then again, this is a choice of shifting your gender. But the entire issue of whether or not a woman needs to readdress and reassure her sexuality has already been dealt with by feminist movement. And the LGBT community has a different ballgame altogether. They incorporate normal human beings and transgender human beings. So when it comes to lesbian feminism in the third wave, feminism already endorses the parts of LGBT movement that can be incorporated in a progressive society. However, the portions that are yet to be addressed as normal, the parts that are yet not been conventionally said to be normal, is not part of a movement, not because the feminists hate transgenders, but because the movement itself needs to retain its originality in order to reach the goal it set at the very beginning of its incorporation, which is from the recognition of women in legal statements to the existing fight for equal pay and diversity of occupation for women. Taken.
Yes, sir. What happens if the LGBT movement fight for the right to consider those who are not 100% women to have the right?
The entire prospect of the LGBT movement to ensure endorsements, to ensure merit certificates, to ensure state recognition. But those are different issues and separate and original fights that are being fought by the LGBT activists. But this is feminism, and this debate is about the principle as to whether or not feminists should be condemning this particular movement and this particular operation. Why? Because in order to remain the feminist movement that it originally was, it needs to shun aside a few components of the society which will not nullify its stand. So simply as we debate on a particular stand, feminist movements needs to have an intact stand. And this stand, ladies and gentlemen, will be hampered if for once we accept that transgenders will be welcomed into the feminist community. Because it is not about betrayal. It is not about whether a man wants to become a woman or a woman wants to become a man. This is not a group game that we're playing here. This is about the biological demarcation and then the social segregation. So when we talk about biological differences, we have advocated and have seen the feminist movement to constantly advocate the social stereotypes that demark women. But on the other hand, when we talk about transgenders, we are yet to define a social status here. We are yet to see a substantial number of transgenders out there and how the social, society stereotypes them and how the stereotype has to be broken or needs to be broken. That is a different debate for a different time, maybe 10 years or 50 years down the line. But today, ladies and gentlemen, as we stand here to understand what women need in general, again, as I started my speech, it's the vanity of a few who can afford an operation versus the fate of millions of women who need this movement to prosper as it is, because it has to fight the religious taboos, it has to fight the social stereotypes of patriarchy, it has to go out there and show that how women historically have contributed to different movements, and women who are not transgenders, women who are normally and biologically women, women who are lesbians, and glorify them in order to substantiate their pressure group statements through which they can implement policies, through which they can influence governance, through which they have been ensuring via activism equality in the gender arena. And we feel that this entire mechanism will take a blow the moment you incorporate and open a different dimension. Because already people are asking questions about male and masculinity studies as to how men should also understand their problems and incorporate those problem solutions into helping women out there. So you see, substantial, detailed success of feminism has already taken place in the year 2014 as we speak. Now, in this pinnacle of, the best of the outputs that are coming, we are basically talking about principally condemning a particular component that would nullify everything and turn feminism into a mockery. And we do not feel that that is important. So ladyboys will have their rights from the government. They will probably someday get married and be given access to the church as well maybe. But that is a different debate for a different fight, for a different movement. As far as feminist and feminism is concerned, it's a different ballgame with much history behind it, and it cannot be mocked, it cannot be nullified, because it has a long way to go. Thank you very much.
How sex got bullied welcome.
Okay, good day, ladies and gentlemen. So, the main area of class today is to define what is feminism and under which conception more women will be happier. So, let's analyze what the government bench tells us and what we as the opposition bench tells us. So, the first government tells you that the feminism and you as a woman can act only to a certain limit. And the limit is until you cross the line and become a man. Thus, they tell that if you're a man, you are an enemy. If you turn the man's side, thus you betray the woman's side. Thus, you are now not our friend, you are a former woman, you are not our friend, you are an enemy, you are on the enemy side. Thus, what incentive do they give, what message do they send to the society? They tell us that men and women are different, that men and women are not equal, they have priorities, etc. And we are saying that no, feminism is absolutely opposite. Feminism, and especially the third way, is about that no one can tell you what you should do, no one can tell you what you should behave, what you should think, and etc. etc. They say you that you can choose your profession, you can choose when to get married, what do you like to have a child, what do you like to have an abortion or not. Our opponents tell us agreed that feminism gave you the body autonomy and the right to abortion.